After Venezuela, Donald Trump is preparing to expand into Latin America based on an old American doctrine known as the Monroe Doctrine, which Trump has effectively transformed into what some now call the Donroe Doctrine, derived from his own name, Donald Trump. So what is the story? What is really happening after the overthrow, arrest, abduction, and the beginning of the trial of Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro in New York? In a speech yesterday, alongside Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, U.S. President Donald Trump threatened a group of countries with American military intervention, declaring bluntly, "America is coming for you." We are talking about the Western Hemisphere. We are talking about Latin America. Colombia first. Trump began by targeting Colombian President Gustavo Petro, with whom relations have sharply deteriorated. Petro accused Trump of being responsible for drug trafficking and illegal migration, claiming that the U.S. sends criminals into Latin America. Trump's response was clear and threatening. "You're next. We're coming after you. Be careful." Gustavo Petro responded publicly accusing Trump of trying to escape scandals related to Jeffrey Epstein, describing him as a pedophile who is now threatening other nations. Petro declared that Colombia is not afraid and has nothing to fear. Despite this defiance, it is clear that Trump has hostile intentions toward Colombia. China enters the equation. Colombia's relationship with China has grown significantly in recent years. The country joined the Belt and Road Initiative, receiving massive Chinese investments. Economic and infrastructure ties between Colombia and China have expanded rapidly. Gustavo Petro is now considered politically close to Beijing, and this deeply concerns Donald Trump. This is where Trump begins to revive the Monroe Doctrine, or rather, reshape it into his own version. But Colombia is not the only target. Cuba, the next warning. Another key target is Cuba. Trump has accused Cuba of being a failed narco-state that threatens U.S. national security. He has openly warned that Cuba should fear what happened in Venezuela. Marco Rubio echoed this message directly to Havana. Cuba possesses energy resources, and Colombia has energy and coal resources as well. Trump is not going there to sell aid. He is not going there to spread democracy. He is not going there for the people. He is going there to control the resources of Latin America, or as he described it, the resources of the Western Hemisphere, in line with his national security strategy. Mexico, the third target. The third major target is Mexico. Trump recently stated that Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum doesn't truly govern the country. According to him, Mexico is ruled by drug cartels, which he claims poses a direct threat to U.S. national security. Based on this argument, Trump suggested U.S. intervention in Mexico is possible, perhaps even imminent. So now we have three primary targets: Cuba, Colombia, Mexico. Expanding the target list. Additionally, Katie Miller, the wife of Stephen Miller, Trump's chief architect of immigration policy and one of his closest allies, posted a provocative image on her official X Twitter account. The image showed Greenland colored in American colors, with the caption, "Soon." This signals that Trump's strategic target list is expanding beyond Latin America. What is the Monroe Doctrine? The Monroe Doctrine dates back to 1823 under President James Monroe, when European powers were colonizing Latin America. Monroe declared that any European intervention in the Western Hemisphere would be considered a direct threat to U.S. national security. The security of Latin America was inseparable from the security of the United States. Though never passed as a formal law, it became a foundational principle of U.S. foreign policy. In 1904, President Theodore Roosevelt added the Roosevelt Corollary, allowing the U.S. to intervene preemptively to protect its interests in the region. The Donroe Doctrine. Now, under what can be called the Donroe Doctrine, Trump is signaling something far more aggressive. No waiting for Congress, no informing the media, no transparency to the American people. Instead, overthrow governments, kidnap presidents, arrest and extradite them, put them on trial in the United States, and repeat this model in Cuba, Mexico, and beyond. The China factor and global consequences. The problem with this approach is that it directly threatens Chinese interests. China conducts over $500 billion annually in trade within Latin America and has invested more than $140 billion in infrastructure across the region, including Venezuela, Colombia, Mexico, Cuba, and others. If Trump uses force to protect U.S. national security interests, how might China respond? Not in Latin America. China would respond where it truly matters, Taiwan. A single decision by President Xi Jinping could lead to China seizing Taiwan, using the same national security justification Trump uses, creating a Chinese version of the Monroe Doctrine. Russia and Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russia maintains close ties with many of these Latin American states. If Russia escalates further in Ukraine, occupying more territory, would Trump be able to stop it? No. The cost would fall on Europe: more refugees, higher inflation, energy and gas crises, economic instability. Without U.S. support, Europe cannot effectively confront Russia. The end of an era. The Donroe Doctrine is not the beginning of a new era. It is the announcement of the end of an era, the era of U.S. leadership, international law, global institutions, and collective order. What we are entering now is an era defined by unilateral power, chaos, and personal rule. An era ignited by Donald Trump, who in 2026 may set the world on fire.